I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call to quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve, stretch, on my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no giving. Some days I don't eat, I don't sleep. When I'm focused on dangerous, they don't wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know this because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem, man. Perfect, let them watch me elevating. Got them nauseous cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the house and whoo. Watch how I get it here. Watch how I get it here. Watch how I get it here.
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC 284. We have Alexander Volkanovski going against Islam Makhachev. We have 13 fights on the card to talk about. And yeah, should be a very fun card. Looking forward to it. We got 2 title fights. I do have 10 bets on the card to talk about as well. So I think it's going to be a pretty good one for sure. The only thing I'm not too happy about is having to pay $80 for Parker Porter, Justin Tafa. But the rest of the main card is going to be fire for sure. So weigh-ins are happening right now. And then everybody, but I think 2 guys have weighed in. And it looked like Clayton Rodriguez missed weight. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Not sure why they did the weigh-ins so late. I think it's, they did it like 6 Eastern, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. And then I think the ceremonials are like 10 Eastern tonight. So doing everything kind of late, but looking forward to the card nonetheless. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Getting really close to 19,000 subs. I think we're like around 50 away. So if you guys are new here, subscribe. Do appreciate it. And if you guys do watch the content and enjoy it, please consider subscribing as well. Really close to that 19K. Would love to hit that hopefully by maybe the time the fight starts. So let's shout out the chat before we get started and get into some of the fights. We got Dylan in the chat saying, let's win some money. Let's do it. We got Zach in the chat saying, go Volk and go Chiefs. I'm actually going the other way on both those, Zach, but best of luck to you. We got Tony in the chat saying, great card to make some money. It must stink for people in Perth that the card starts at 7 a.m. locally. Great for us, though. Yeah, it's got to be rough. Especially going to the fights that early. Could not imagine doing that, but I'm sure people are still going to be very excited going and watching some great fights Saturday. I'm the one saying UFC plus Super Bowl. My wallet is about to get smacked. There we go. Let's make some money. I do have some bets on the Super Bowl myself. We got JR saying, Brady, give me the money maker play. We're going to talk about it. A couple spots I really do like on this card. We got Gus in the chat as well saying, let's go, Gus. We got Gus with the Australian flag. Heck yeah. Gaming Wolf, what is up? Saying it's been a while, Brady. I will do some bets. Let's go. Let's do it. Still no DFS. Sucks. Hopefully they get it back soon. We got Eric in the chat saying, what's up, Brady? Good luck, everyone. Good luck to you as well, Eric. Biden's leg here saying, I just started working out again. You kind of inspire me. Well, there you go. Do it. And it feels good, man. It feels good working out each day. And then Gus with the dono. Appreciate you. 149 super sticker. Appreciate you, Gus. Thank you for hanging out. And thank you for the dono. It does mean a lot there. Dosebay saying Fuka Mahomes. Yeah, go Eagles, mate. There we go. Evening, Brady. Good luck. Great to join. Appreciate you for hanging out, Andre. Samuel saying time to make some money. I agree. So I will be going live tomorrow for Best Bet. And we have a killer panel tomorrow. We have me, we got Uncle Weezy, we got Lou Betcha, and then we got Billy Briz. And we're going to see if Lou can keep up the number 1 spot in the best bet competition that we're doing this year. I think it's right now it's Lou number 1, I'm number 2, and I think Gordo's number 3. So we're going to see if Lou can keep that number 1 spot. I have a lot of spots that are really sticking out for that best bet show tomorrow. So be sure to tune into that. We got Sander in the chat. What is up, Sander? Yeah, everybody KO. We'll talk about that one. I think somebody's getting KO'd in that co-main event. But I say we get right into it here because I do got to get out of here by like 8:10. All right, we'll start with the first fight of the card. We have Zabara Tuhugov going against Elvis Brenner. We got Tuhugov, who is 32 years old. And Brenner's only 25 years old. We got Brenner, who is taking this fight on short notice here. And yeah, I went and watched all the tape on Brenner, and I'm like, man, they couldn't have found anybody else. I mean, this is a terrible matchup for one Elvis Brenner. Like, there's a reason that Tuhugov is the biggest favorite on the card. I think he's like minus 600 on most books. I see like a minus 620. It's because it's a terrible matchup. It's a horrible matchup for Elvis Brenner. Like Brenner, the majority of his wins come by submission, and I mean, you're not going to take down Tuhugov, who on paper has a 100% takedown defense. And even if you do, if Tuhugov takes down Brenner, which I think could definitely happen because Brenner has no takedown defense, are you going to sub Tuhugov off your back? I don't really think so. And I kind of think that's his path to victory. I kind of think he's like submission off his back or bust. So I get why money's just poured in onto Tuhugov throughout the week. One spot that I do like, I think it's a really sneaky spot here, and it's the under 2.5. I got it at plus 130 earlier in the week, and this line has moved a little bit. I still see it at like plus 116. And then I also consider like the Tuhugov inside the distance. So I have half a unit on that under 2.5 rounds, plus 130. Got that on DraftKings. And the reason being is, like I said, Brenner's taken this fight on short notice. This is going to be a massive step up in competition for Brenner. And Tuhugov, yes, he's won a lot of decisions, but he also does have a couple finishes inside the UFC, and he's dropped a ton of guys. Like, Tuhugov hits very, very hard. He knocked down Kevin Aguilar, knocked him out twice. He knocked him down twice, knocked him out. He knocked down Lerone Murphy. He went out there and got a knockout, I believe, in his debut or like a second fight against Ernest Chavez. So he does have a lot of power, and this is going to be like the easiest matchup for Tuhugov in almost 10 years. Like, he's taken a massive step down, going from Ricardo Ramos, Hakeem Dawodu, even Kevin Aguilar is a tougher fight than this. Lerone Murphy, Renato Moicano, right? He's fought Douglas Silva de Andrade. Like, this is going to be the easiest matchup in almost 10 years. I mean, so this is a big step down. And, typically when you see a big step down like this, I mean, he should go out there and finish a guy like Elvis Brenner, who's going to have nothing for him on the feet, nothing for him really anywhere, I don't think. So I like Tuhugov quite a bit. I like him to finish his fight inside the distance. I think the under is a solid look because if Brenner does win, it's going to be by sub. This guy's finished, I think, all but, we can take a look at his finish rate. I think it's like all but one of his wins. Yeah, 92% finish rate for Brenner. So I think if Brenner does pull off the upset, it will be inside the distance. So I think the under kind of covers both sides. But if you want to get a little bit more greedy, I don't hate anybody taking the shot on Tuhugov inside the distance. And it's crazy. Like, he's a massive favorite. He's minus 600, and his inside the distance line is like plus 140. Like, that's pretty. Like, he should go out there and beat this guy and beat him pretty handedly and beat him inside the distance. So looking for some violence here to kick off the card. 9,600 on DraftKings, though, is a hefty price tag, especially when you have Islam Makhachev, who's cheaper. You have, a lot of guys that are cheaper and much better plays. I think Tuhugov scores well. I think he finishes, but it's just hard to see him go out there and outscore an Islam Makhachev in a win, right? You got Tyson Pedro, who's cheaper. You got Jimmy Crute, a guy you want to take some shots on. Klidson Rodriguez, who we'll talk about as well. So don't really love the Tuhugov 9,600. I'll be getting away from that, but as far as a bet, I do like that violence there. I think Zabara, there we go, will take the win. I'm right there with you. Nice and angry unibrow by Brenner at the weigh-ins, but still liking Tuhugov. Yeah, I must have missed the unibrow. Yeah, Menifield's definitely a live underdog, I'd say. I think there's a couple live underdogs. Didn't know this was actually live. That's nice. Yes, sir. Go live every Friday, 7 o'clock. We got Billy in the chat. What's up, Billy? Billy will be on the channel tomorrow for Best Bet, making his debut this year, which is going to be awesome. Can't wait to see what he comes up with and how he does against the rest of us here. Andre saying switching Tuhugov from decision to KO. I do agree he will get the KO early. Yeah, and I know Uncle Wheezy's, I think, on that like KO1 for Tuhugov, because when he comes out in that first round, he's throwing hard. So I personally think it's KO1 as well, but I just took the under just to cover more angles of the fight. Hey, we got Adrian. Adrian with the $11 donut. Appreciate Adrian, huge supporter of the channel. Does go a long way here. Thank you so much, and thank you for hanging out here on a Friday. Do appreciate that a ton. And Samuel saying too expensive on DK. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if he was like 9K, I'd take some shots, but 9,600. Like, Jailton Almeida was 9,600. Tatsuro Taira was 9,600. I'd be more inclined to, definitely play like an Almeida. I don't think that Tuhugov has that same upside. All right, we'll move on to the next fight. We have Shane Young going against Blake Builder. Yeah, don't like anything in this fight. I actually hate this fight, to be honest. I think it'll be fun, but just in terms of putting money on either of these guys, I just can't get there. I'm not a big fan of Shane Young. The dude's not won in like a long time. How long has it been since Shane Young went out there and got a win? It was back in like 2019 against Austin Arnett. Like, it's been a long, long time. Since then, got knocked out by Ludovic Klein and lost a decision to Omar Morales. And then you look at Blake Builder and it's like, I'm not impressed with him as well. I mean, he has a good grappling game, but I've seen him get dropped like probably almost 10 times. He gets dropped a lot, which is extremely concerning. Like, I want nothing to do with this fight. As far as a pick, I'm picking Shane Young just because I feel like his takedown defense is solid enough to keep this on the feet. When it's on the feet, I do like the pressure, the pace, the volume that Shane Young brings. And like I said, Builder's getting dropped a million times. So as far as like a prop goes, I know a lot of people are on that under that fight doesn't go, but both these guys are super tough. They have a combined, 27, 28 fights, only one of them where they finished, and it was that Klein fight where Klein landed that big head kick. Builder's never been finished, although he does get dropped a lot. He's never been finished. He has great recoverability. And like I said, Shane Young's been finished once in 19 fights. So yeah, nothing sticking out here. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't mind some shots on Builder as a dog, 7,900. If he does get this fight down to the mat, could potentially get a submission here at a dog price. And there's not a ton of dogs I like this week. So ended up having a solid amount of Builder just for that upside, but I'm not confident in the guy. I'm not confident in either of these guys. I don't think either of these guys are too great. So but from a DraftKings perspective, it'd be definitely a dog or pass there. Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't trust either of these guys with my money. I will be staying far, far away from this fight. I'm hoping Builder is a sneaky play. Yeah, I hope so. I'm on some Builder from a DraftKings perspective, but it's hard to be confident in that guy. Tony saying tough fight to pick here with a Contender Series guy versus the Down Boy for City Kickboxing. Total pass. Yeah, I can agree with that one, man. Staying away from this one. No clear path to victory for either one. Yeah, I think if Shane Young wins, maybe it's a knockout, but kind of leaning decision. If Builder was to win, it had to be getting the fight down to the mat, but he's not the best wrestler, so I don't like it. Staying away myself. So I think we can move on. If you guys have not already, be sure to smash the like button. I do appreciate that a ton. And thank you for hanging out with me on a Friday. I know we got weigh-ins going on right now. And I think everybody's weighed in but Zabira Tuhugov, which is interesting because he's fighting up a weight class. So that's weird. And then, of course, only one person's missed weight, and that was Klitzen Rodriguez. We'll talk about that fight very shortly. All right, next we have Loma Lukbunmi going against Elise Reed. And if you guys know me, if you guys have been watching for a while now, you guys know that I've been staying away from women's MMA mostly, and especially laying chalk on women's MMA. I think it's been probably close to a year, around maybe a little bit less than a year since I've laid chalk on women's MMA. And I think the last straw for me was Lupita Godinez against Angela Hill. I think that was the last straw. So that was a while ago at this point. And I didn't want to do it, but man, I really do like Loma in this spot quite a bit. I just don't really see where Elise Reed wins this fight. If Elise Reed was to win this fight, I think it would have to be a fight that plays out at range for 15 minutes. That's how Elise Reed wins this fight. It's at range for 15 minutes. But even then, I favor Loma there. I favor the kicks, great leg kicks, body kicks, hard kicks as well from Loma. So even at range where I think Elise Reed has her best success, I even still favor Loma there, and it's going to be the clinch where Loma's going to have a massive, significant advantage in the clinch. Loma's nasty in the clinch with the elbows, with the knees. I think she has the better cardio as well, and I think Loma has the better ground game by a mile. Loma has really good trips. She's able to get fights down to the mat pretty easily, and Elise Reed, what does she struggle with? Well, she struggles with her ground game. She can be taken down, and when she gets taken down, she's not getting back up. We saw what Loma went out there and did to Sam Hughes, and I had a bet on Loma that night. And, she took down Sam Hughes 4 times and won that fight pretty decisively. And then we saw Sam Hughes go out there against Elise Reed, and she looked like Islam Makhachev. Like, she dominated Elise Reed. Sam Hughes dominated Elise Reed. So I feel like Loma wins this fight at range. I feel like she wins it in the clinch. and I feel like she wins it, especially on the mat. So I can't ignore that. And I know laying chalk on WMMA is scary, but I did put 2 units on Loma at minus 250. She was minus 265. The line came down a little bit on DraftKings, and I did jump in at minus 250. I was like, yeah, what's a responsible amount to put on Loma here? Because these spots kill me all the time. Like these spots have destroyed me more often than not. But man, I do like Loma in this spot. So I put 2 units on her, minus 250. That line's kind of been smacked throughout the week. It was staying around there for a while, but just recently it's been smacked. It's now like Loma minus. Still see like a minus 290. I think she's a solid parlay piece. I see a lot of people putting her in their parlays, and I don't hate that. I also don't mind like a sprinkle on maybe like the Loma inside the distance because I think she could potentially finish Elise Reed here, who again made Sam Hughes look like Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, it was bad. So I think a potential Loma finish is in play here. I didn't pull the trigger on it myself. I would like a little bit better of a price for Loma who doesn't finish anybody, but I think the finish is live. From a DraftKings perspective, I'm not touching Elise Reed here at 7,200, but as far as Loma, I think she's kind of sneaky here. Elise Reed's been dominated by Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes put up a massive score that night. CRU Banks put up a massive score against her. And I think Loma can put up a big score, but I didn't go crazy. I think I went like around 10%. Loma Luke Boonme. I think she's going to be super low owned. So I think I'm going to be at 10%. I think I'll be just around the field or maybe a little bit higher. I don't think many, if anybody's going to play her this week. So I did sprinkle some Loma, but I do obviously like a lot more plays in her on this card. So yeah, give me Loma, 2 units, minus 250. I'm terrified about it. And I was terrified earlier in the week, but I think as the week went on, I'm feeling a little bit better about laying this much chalk on Loma Look Boomy. I think she's good. I really think she's a very good fighter. It's just laying chalk on WMMA has not done well for me throughout the years. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's probably my I don't know. I'm confident, but at the same time, how confident can you be, right? So, but I do think Loma should get this done unless something crazy happens. I don't know, but give me Loma for this one. This Loma fight is going to make you hate women's MMA even more if Loma loses. I mean, it'll provide some comedy. It'll provide some comedy. I'm sure if Loma loses, I'm sure I'll go on a big rant tomorrow on or Monday on Stat Diggers. But I think she should win this fight. Just saying, Loma can still has the ground game in her last few fights. Yeah, Loma's shown some pretty massive improvements in the ground game. Like her ground and pound is no joke. And I was actually shocked that she was able to out grapple Denise Gomes in her last fight. Gomes, I believe, is either a brown belt or a black belt. Gomes, a very good grappler. And I was actually shocked that Loma was actually grappling with Gomes and having success. It was just showing you that, Loma's making improvements and she's at a very good gym as well. Like she's training with like Zhang Wei Li. Like you're going to get better training with Zhang Wei Li. So yeah, I do like Loma in the spot quite a bit. Loma with the handsome decision or late finish. I agree totally. Loma should confidently get that decision. Yeah, and another thing, if this fight does go to decision, I do have some concerns about like the judges, but man, like even the judges shouldn't be able to mess this one up. Kasayan Loma, Crew Menifil under 2.5. Hey, those are my favorite plays on the card, so I like that. I like that one. Loma by decision. I think Loma by decision is like minus 160 though, which is Loma by decision is minus 160, minus 130. I don't know. I think she could finish. I think a finish is something on the table. But yeah, I agree. Decision's much safer. But don't be shocked if she finishes Elise Reed, who has no ground game. Yeah, I got Loma too. Yeah, right there with you. All right. So let's move on to the next fight. We got Jack Jenkins going against Don Shanis. And yeah, I mean, Jack Jenkins, he's a big favorite, minus 335. It's another fight where just not much sticking out. I think it's a great matchup for Jack Jenkins here. It's just I'm not extremely impressed with the guy. It's just he's going against Don Shanis. I don't think Don Shanis is going to provide much resistance here. I mean, I think early on maybe Shanis can hit a takedown or two, but as the fight goes on, I think it's a heavily favored matchup for someone in Jack Jenkins here. But yeah, no props sticking out. I actually considered like the over 1.5 rounds just because Jack Jenkins is not a like crazy finisher. He's not like a one punch knockout guy. So I feel like this does get extended, but even then, like Don Shanis goes out there and especially as of late, he's been fighting like a complete wild man. So that was enough to kind of make me pass there. But if I was forced to bet it, it would be that over. Um, but yeah, I'm not parlaying up Jack Jenkins. I think there's a couple better parlay pieces on this card. Like I think Loma, I'd be more confident in like parlaying like a Loma. Yeah, Jack Jenkins like minus 400 now. Like I don't think he's that amazing. It's just he's going against Don Shanus, right? So yeah, nothing here from a betting perspective, and quite frankly, like not much from a DraftKings perspective. Jack Jenkins is expensive. I'd rather go up and get like a Islam Makhachev. I'd rather go down and get like a Kletzen Rodriguez, a Jamie Malarkey, a Tyson Pedro. Save some salary there. Like a Jack Della Maddalena is 100 cheaper. So I don't know how much Jenkins I'm going to have. I think he wins this fight, but I kind of think it gets extended a little bit. Maybe a late finish or even a decision win for Jack Jenkins. So not a DraftKings play I love, not a fight that I'm going to bet on at all. But as far as a pick, I'll go with Jack Jenkins, but don't have a ton of interest in this fight really at all. Like if anything on DraftKings, I might sprinkle Don Shane because if he does win, it's probably a first round type finish. He does have takedown upside. But I don't even know. I mean, it's not a fight I'm really looking forward to be honest. What's up, Vince? How you doing? Sam Brady Mob. Saying go too big of a favorite talking about Jenkins, and yeah, especially now, like minus 400. That's wild. That is wild. Don't shame this. What are we shaming? Shanus is a Phil Baroni. Jenkins should have a decent amount of takedowns and control time. Might be worth a look on DraftKings. Yeah, he could, or he could just keep the fight standing. I think he's gonna have a pretty like a massive striking advantage here. But yeah, if he wants to take down Shanus, he could for sure. Jack Jenkins via leg kick TKO. I could see it. The guy does kick hard, but yeah, I will have no action on this fight, and it will be one that I'll probably be passing on tomorrow on best bet as well. It looks like we're still waiting on Tuhugov to come up and make weight, which I'm not sure why he's taking so long. I mean, the guy is moving up a weight class, but he did struggle at featherweight quite a bit. So we'll see if he makes weight here. All right, let us move on to the next fight. We have Jamie Malarkey going against Francisco Prado. This is probably my favorite fight on the prelims here. I think this is going to be a very, very fun fight. We have Prado coming in here on short notice, flying all the way across the world to take on a very tough opponent in Jamie Malarkey. Prado's 11-0. The guy's dangerous. They have 100% finish rate. And what I like here is the violence. I know a lot of people are on it, including me, but it's a spot that makes a ton of sense. So the two bets I do have, I have the under 2.5 rounds. I bet this actually 2 weeks ago on DraftKings, and I got it at minus 130 for 1 unit. I actually see it on 5Ms right now at like minus 127, which is interesting. And then I also have a unit on the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 163. So I like violence in the spot. I like it quite a bit. You have a guy in Prado, like I said, he's taking it on short notice. He's traveling all across the world. He's a guy that has never been over with 2.5 rounds. He's a guy that's been to the third round once. And I think he's going to go in there in the first round and just throw caution to the wind. And, he potentially could maybe find the finish. Jamie Malarkey is very hittable. Jamie Malarkey is a tough guy, but he's been knocked out like 2 or 3 times. So it wouldn't completely shock me if Prado went out there and starched him. But if Prado's not able to get him out of there early, I think Malarkey's going to take over. I think he's going to pressure him, and I think he's going to break him in that second round. So I think violence is the way to go here. I think it's a phenomenal fight to target on DraftKings. You have Jamie Malarkey, who has potentially takedown upside here. Absolutely has finish upside here as well. And I don't mind some shots on Prado at 7,500 because if he wins, there's a very good chance it's going to be in the first round. But what I like more than anything is going to be that violence, the under 2.5 rounds. That fight doesn't go to decision. I think somebody's getting finished here, whether it's Prado early with the finish or Malarkey late. But I also think Malarkey potentially finish him late as well. We'll take a look at some of these violence numbers. Jamie Malarkey, very good finisher, 20 fights, 87% finish rate, 67% by knockout, 20% by sub. Jamie Malarkey's been finished in 3 of 5 losses. And Prado, a 100% finish rate, about half of those by KO, half of those by sub. And another thing is Prado is taking a pretty big step up in competition here on short notice. So give me violence here. Give me this fight on DraftKings, and it is one of my favorite, if not my favorite fights on these prelims here. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think it's going to be a war. I think it's going to be a fun fight, and I think it's a fight that Jamie Malarkey is going to finish here. Warning everyone, I don't ever get Malarkey fights right, and I'm on him this fight. So yeah, I mean, maybe Prado can pull off the upset. Cut the malarkey. Heck yeah. Impressive record for Prado until you see who he's beaten. A bunch of 0-1 guys, 0-2 guys, kind of sketchy. Yeah, there's a bunch of like 0-0 guys, 0-1 guys, and there's actually some guys with like on paper have solid records, but some of these guys he's fighting, like their records are extremely padded as well. Prado has all finished for wins, but not sure if it's going to be too early for a step up. However, I have Prado for KO, but it's anyone's KO finish here. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, if Prado does win this, I think it's an early knockout, which could happen. Jamie Larkey is very hittable, but man, both guys are very hittable. Both guys leave a lot of openings. Both guys are down to get into a brawl, and I kind of think that's what happens here in this matchup. I think you're looking at the ESPN record. No, you check his Tapology. Like, there's some like bad opponents like early in his career, but like as of late, he has fought some guys with solid records on paper. But I don't think his opponents are that great, to be honest. All right, let's keep moving on. We have the only guy that missed weight. We have Kletzen Rodriguez going against Shannon Ross here. We got Rodriguez as a massive favorite, very popular play this week. He opened up like minus 180, minus 182, and like everybody started smashing that line. Now he is currently sitting at minus 330, minus 335. So yeah, I do have a bet here. I liked the under, I'd say, until it got smashed all week. The under 2.5, it was like plus 125, plus 120. I didn't mind that. But that plus money's all gone for that under. What I did take a shot on is Kletzen Rodriguez to win inside the distance, and I got it at plus 140, and that line is not there. It looks like it just got hit recently, but yeah, I like Rodriguez inside the distance. Looks like multiple books still have plus money for Rodriguez inside the distance. That's the way I'm kind of attacking it. Don't love the fact that he missed the weight, but the one thing I don't like about Shannon Ross is, and I think Shannon Ross is actually decent. I think he's getting counted out a little bit in this matchup, but one thing I don't like about Shannon Ross is the fact that he leaves a lot of openings to be hit. He goes in there, he gets into these brawls, these wars, and his chin can't really hold up. Like, not only on the Contender Series, where on the Contender Series he was dropped 3 times, even like outside the Contender Series, he's getting dropped a lot. So I think eventually Kletzen is going to land something, and I think it might even be like a head kick, and I think he puts out Shannon Ross here. But yeah, minus 330, it's a little bit much. I'd rather like lean the inside the distance or like the under 2.5 rounds. Would have really liked that under 2.5 at like plus 125, but it wasn't there too long. It's definitely not there now. Like, the fight doesn't go decisions, getting smashed as well. So yeah, would have liked those lines, but if you can still get Rodriguez inside the distance at plus money, I think that's kind of the way to go. I think Rodriguez does finish Shannon Ross in the spot. From a DraftKings perspective, really like Shannon Ross, 8,800. I like the volume Ross. I really like Rodriguez, 8,800. I like the volume that Rodriguez brings. I like the power that he brings. And like I said, Ross has been knocked out multiple times. He's been dropped a ton. And it's crazy. I mean, the guy's a flyweight. He's getting dropped a ton by other flyweights. And I think Rodriguez knocks him out here as well. Maybe even like a club and sub situation as well. So I do like Rodriguez here quite a bit on from a betting perspective and from a DraftKings perspective as well. As far as Shannon Ross on DraftKings, I don't hate like a couple shots here or there. I mean, I don't know. I think he makes a better account of himself this fight, but even then, I think he gets knocked out here. Like, apparently he was going into the Contender Series with like a really bad health. I forget what it was, but like something extremely serious. He went out there and still fought. So I think he'll put up a little bit better of account of himself, but I still think he does get finished at some point in this fight. I'd say Kletzen by sub, because why not? Kletzen Rodriguez by submission is like plus 380. I could see like a club and sub situation there. Shannon Ross is a walking punching bag. Yeah, I mean, the guy leaves a lot of openings to be hit, and you do not want to be head kicked clean by a guy in Kletzen Rodriguez, that's for sure. Probaholic saying, "What's good, Brady? What is good, Probaholic? How you doing?" And Andre saying Rodriguez submission round 2. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning it like KO myself, but the KO is like plus 280, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, I'm on the inside the distance nonetheless. I think he does go out there and get a finish here in this matchup. Probaholic saying, I have Rodriguez sub at plus 380, round 2 sub at plus 1,500, and round 3 sub at plus 2,600. Very juicy odds there. Very juicy odds there. Randy saying, who's the best dog on DK? I think there's a couple ones that stick out. I think Benefield's a dog you got to take a look at. Prado, a dog you got to take a look at. I think both of those guys have first-round upside. Builder's a dog you got to take a look at 7,900. Wrestling upside, finishing upside. Other than that, I guess you could play some Porter, although that fight kind of sucks. Josh Emmett's a live dog as well at the co-main event. And if you want to punt with some Volk, I think there's a good amount of dogs that stick out. But the dogs I like the best is probably going to be Menefield, like Emmett, and maybe some Prado as well. All right. Still no Tahugov. Awesome posters, Brady. Appreciate it. I have a bunch of other ones. So might change it up a little bit, but I did want to get that UFC Austin poster up there. That was probably my favorite card that I've ever went to. I mean, I've only went to like 3 or 4, but that was my favorite card that I went to for sure. And then I have the UFC, I think it was a 266 poster, the Ortega Volkanovski, the big poster over there on my wall as well. I like Menefield. Yeah, I don't hate it at all. Any advice for MMA Captain mode? I don't play it, but maybe I'll get around to playing it this week. What I do is just for the captain, I play my favorite player, the guy I think that has the highest ceiling, which in this case it's probably Islam, and then I kind of go from there. Even wouldn't mind like a Menefield at captain. So like somebody with like a first round upside like Jimmy Crute, Menefield. But for me, my captain would be Makhachev this week. Is this Brady or Brad Pitt? That's a new one. What's up, Mills? How you doing? And I am not. All right. Let us move on to the next fight. We have Josh Kulabau going against Melsik Bagdasaryan. I'm going to keep it short and sweet here. Looks like they moved the Kletzen Rodriguez Shannon Ross fight to a catchweight. Wonder what the catchweight is. That's weird. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what it's saying here. So we'll have to see. Anyway, I'm keeping it short and sweet here. No bet here on DraftKings. It's Melsik, if anything. I think he has the finish upside and he's cheaper. But yeah, I think it's a close fight. I think, Josh Kulabau is a phenomenal fighter. I think he's super underrated, but in a fight where I feel like it's going to take place on the feet for 15 minutes, I got to favor the better striker, or at least who I think is a better striker, and that's Melsik. It's just I can't bet on Melsik because his cardio is questionable. He slows down as the fight goes on, and he's able to push through it, but still not the best look in the world. So it's a big pass for me from a betting perspective. No props sticking out, nothing like that. And then from a DraftKings perspective, it's Melsik or pass. But to be honest, I don't really like this fight from a DraftKings perspective. I think it goes to decision. I think it's close. I know Lou Betcha is on that split decision. I could definitely see it because it's going to be a close fight where we have Melsik landing probably the harder shots. Kulabau maybe a little more volume. But yeah, not a fight I'm overly looking forward to putting much money on. I think it's a fun fight to watch, though. But as far as putting money on it, I can't quite get there. Don't sleep on Brady's picks, 27-9-1 the last 3 cards. Is that true? That's pretty good, man. Hopefully that keeps up, dude. That's pretty good. But yeah, it's been a good start to the year, and it's been a good end to last year as well. I kind of changed my process up a little bit after that O'Malley Yan situation, and since then I think I'm like 13 and 0-1 in terms of winning and losing events. Like my last losing card was that O'Malley Yan fight, so I did change some things up, and since then it's been pretty good. But we'll see. I mean, it's not always going to keep up. I mean, you're going to have your losing cards, but you just got to keep going and you try to win in that long term. That's always the goal there. Brad Pitt by the numbers. There you go. All right, so let us keep moving on. We have Tyson Pedro going against Modestas Bukauskas. And yeah, I don't really love this fight. I'm not a big fan of either guy, especially Modestas, man. I mean, this guy, I'm kind of surprised. Like, there's a lot of people on Bukauskas this week. Like, man, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the guy. Like, I'm not a big fan of his point fighting style at light heavyweight here. He's 1-3 in the UFC. His only win was against Andreas Michailidis. He's been knocked out multiple times in his career. He's taken this fight on short notice. He just fought like less than a month ago. I don't like Modestas Bukauskas. I guess I get why people are taking the shot on him as a dog, because if this fight does leave the first round, there's a good chance he wins, just because Tyson Pedro does not win fights outside of the first round. I think Tyson Pedro has not won a fight outside the first round, maybe ever, maybe once in his career. I know for sure in the UFC, he's never won a fight outside that first round. So I think it's a great live betting situation here. Like if I were to bet Modestas, it'd be a live bet because I think he gets finished here in the first round. But if he's still there in the second round, potential live bet on Modestas. What I did, since I am on the Pedro side, since I do think Pedro goes out there and starches Modestas, I'm on the under 1.5 rounds. I got it at plus 117, and I put a half a unit on it. I like Pedro to go out there and starch Modestas early, whether that be a knockout. Modestas has been knocked out several times, or whether that be a sub. Like if Pedro can get the fight down to the mat, his ground game is incredible. It's just, will he get it there? Will he even try to get it there? He hasn't done that in a while. But if this fight hits the mat, Pedro has a massive advantage. And then even on the feet, Bukowski's probably the minute winner here, probably more volume, but it's going to be the big moments and the big power of Pedro that I think is going to give Bukowski's a ton of problems. And I think Pedro knocks him out here in the first round, round and a half. So I'm taking the under 1.5 rounds, plus 117, half a unit. I think Pedro gets it done. From a DraftKings perspective, Pedro 8,900. I like it a lot. I have quite a bit of Pedro for that first round upside, that first round and a half upside for Pedro that he brings. And as far as Bukowskis, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the dude, to be honest. 7,300 though. Like if he can survive the first round and a half, there's a good chance he wins. It's just, even then, if he wins a fight, it's probably like a fight where he's just sticking and moving on the outside, barely doing anything, making it a very boring fight. So probably won't have a ton of Modestas, if really any. So give me Pedro, give me Pedro on DraftKings, and give me that under 1.5 on DraftKings as well. I also don't mind like a shot on Pedro round 1 because I think that's his win condition there. All right. Vote for Pedro. Yeah, I'm voting for Pedro here. I think he gets it done. I think he absolutely gets it done here. And I don't even think Pedro's that good, man. But man, Modestas, I don't like this guy. Exactly. I think the matchmakers want Pedro to win. Yeah, you should have seen who they matched up Pedro with initially. Like, I forget the dude's name, but it was somebody I've never heard of before. And then now they're giving him Modestas. Yeah, I think they're trying to get Pedro a win here. That is true. That is true. Nobody is Hunsucker right, but even then, I still don't think. I mean, at the end of the day, Modestas is still 1-3 in the UFC. So I don't know. But yeah, not a fight I love at all. All right, let's move on to the main. I wouldn't even say he's a fraud because I don't really see many people hyping him up. I mean, some people are. I mean, he's a very popular dog this week. I don't know if he's a fraud. It's just I don't know if he's that great. I don't know if he's UFC. Like he's been solid outside the UFC. It's just inside the UFC he's shown like nothing outside of knocking out Michailidis with those elbows. All right, I'll move on to the main event or main card. We have Jimmy Crute going against Alonzo Menifield, and this is the most exposed fight on the card for me from probably a DraftKings perspective and from a betting perspective. So I have two bets here. The first bet I have is on the under 1.5. I missed the minus 105, but was able to get minus 110. I have 1 unit on that. And then I also have the fight won't start round 3, 1.5 units at minus 190. That line has moved. I was on DraftKings. So I have 2.5 units total here on some violence. I need some violence here, and I think this is a violent fight. I think it's a fight that does finish early on, and I think it, quite frankly, probably finishes in the first round. We have a striker versus grappler matchup here where, on the feet, I even think Crute can knock out Menifield. I think that's absolutely on the table. I think Crute can knock out Menifield. We saw OSP knock out Menifield, right? And we saw Crute knock out, Sam Alvey. We saw him knock out Modestas Bukowskis, who's on the card. So Crute could absolutely knock out Menifield. Menifield could absolutely knock out Jimmy Crute, who's been knocked out back-to-back fights, who's taken a layoff, who has a 50% strike in defense. So on the feet, I think both guys are live for the KO. On the mat, I don't know if Jimmy Crute gets this fight down to the mat because Menifield, he has very good takedown defense, 91%. He's very physically strong. But if Jimmy Crute gets this fight down to the mat, he is going to run through Menifield like a hot knife through butter. Jimmy Crute has one of the best ground games in the division. It's not often you see somebody going out there and submitting Paul Craig, but he did that. And he did it in the third round. So if Crute gets on top of Menifield, I think the fight's going to be over shortly after. But I kind of think he may struggle a bit taking down Minifield, who, like I said, has a very good takedown defense, is very physically strong. And if so, Minifield's going to have a lot of opportunities here to land that knockout against a very hittable Jimmy Crute, a Jimmy Crute who has very questionable fight IQ, a Jimmy Crute that didn't even think about taking down like Anthony Smith or Jamal Hill. Maybe Jimmy Crute doesn't even try to take down Minifield. Maybe they do strike for this fight. And if they do, Minifield's going to be super live. Tuhugov's weighing in right now. He looks kind of awful, which is so weird. Like, this fight's a lightweight, right? Like, why is he struggling? I don't know. But anyway, good to see that Tuhugov is weighing in here. But yeah, give me Minifield for the upset. But if you're going to bet Minifield, you probably bet that KO1, right? But what I do like more than anything is that under 1.5 rounds. And I do like that fight won't start round 3. I like, goodness. Did he miss weight? I think he might have missed weight. Oh, he missed weight. 157.5 for Zabara Tuhugov. What's going on, Zuby? What's going on? You're a featherweight. You're a featherweight. What are you doing? You're a featherweight coming up to lightweight, and you can't. What's going on, Tuhugov? You look awful. You look terrible. What's going on? This guy's a minus 600 favorite, Tuhugov. He's a minus 600 favorite, and he's missing weight up a weight class. Yikes. But anyway, on DraftKings, you got to have this fight. I'm going to have a ton of it. I think Crute has knockout upside, submission upside, and I think Minifield, in terms of live dogs, I think is a super live dog here. But yeah, give me violence here. It's my, like I said, 2.5 units on some violence in this fight. All right, Crute KO. I could see it. Crute hits hard, man. He hits hard. The over 1.5 is, you probably are getting some plus money. The over 1.5 is plus 125, plus 126. The best bet of the night first fight ends in sub 6-1. You think Tuhugov subs Brenner? I don't know. Maybe. All right, we'll see, Thomas. We'll see. Yeah, you don't gotta call anybody dummies though. Dang. I like Jimmy. Hope he doesn't get KO'd again. Yeah, we'll see if he wrestles. Fight does a good decision. Is the play here for sure? Yeah, I think it's the safest play to go to. But that is now like minus 500, minus 400. I think a lot of people are on that, including me. Crute will show up for the Aussie crowd. Look out, Minifield. Yeah, Crute heard an interview and saying that Crute's going to blow Minifield out of the water. Gonna blow him out of the water, which I like to hear from like a violence perspective. He's gonna go out there and blow him out. Tooth missed weight 157. Yeah, I mean, I'm at a loss for words, to be honest. I'm at an absolute loss. I guess it makes me like the under more. But now I'm definitely not putting money on this dude to win inside the distance. I mean, what's going on with Tuhugov? How did that just happen? I'm not sure. I am not sure. Weird. Not priced well enough for me, but I could see a later finish. Yeah, if there's a later finish, it's probably Crute because Minifield's like typically round 1 or bust. Minifield, all his wins that came inside the distance were under 1.5 rounds. What does he have? 13 wins. 12 of those were under 1.5, and 1 win was over 1.5, and that was against Ed Herman, which is a weird fight. And then 10 of Minifield's wins were in the first round. Jimmy Crute's been over 1.5 only once inside the UFC, and it was against Paul Craig. And since that Paul Craig fight, all his fights have ended in round 1. So. Yeah, I suppose, but it's weird, man. Like, he's a featherweight, right? I don't know. Parker Porter should be like minus 200. No, I disagree. I mean, I feel like nobody should be favored in that fight. They're both pretty awful. MMA Math says Minifield KO's Crute. We'll see. We shall see. But yeah, everybody weighed in. Kletzen Rodriguez missed weight 127. And then, apparently that might be a catch weight now. And then Zabara Tuhugov missed weight 157.5. Other than that, everybody made weight. Other than that, everybody looked pretty solid. I thought that even Kletzen looked fine. But Tuhugov did not look to be the best. But yeah, in terms of weigh-ins, those were the two that missed weight there. All right, let me turn off this weigh-ins. Okay. So where were we? Oh, goodness. Justin Tafa, Parker Porter. What a terrible fight. And it's on the main card. Like, we have to pay $80 to watch this fight. $80 to watch Justin Tafa, Parker Porter. It's disgusting. And how about the people that paid money for tickets, right? They paid money for tickets to go to the fights in Perth, and they have to pay a hefty price tag to go out there on the main card and watch this terrible, terrible fight. This is a horrible fight. We have Justin Tafa, who's the favorite, who lost to Jared Vandera. Enough said. I mean, what needs broken down after that? Justin Tafa lost to Jared Vandera. I mean, that's inexcusable. How do you lose to Jared Vandera, who doesn't beat anybody? Like, Jared Vandera is like 1-5 in the UFC, and that one win came against Justin Tafa. Justin Tafa, you should be ashamed of yourself for losing to Jared Vandera. Justin Tafa also missed weight in his last fight against Harry Hunsucker. So not only did he lose to Jared Vandera, but he was the first heavyweight to ever miss weight in the UFC. So he is setting records. He's setting records, but not records you really want to have. Yeah, this is bad. And then you have Parker Porter, who, he's extremely overrated, to be honest. I don't think Parker Porter is that great. He's been knocked out 3 times. He's been submitted 3 times. He's been finishing all of his losses. His durability is a question. But what Parker Porter does do fairly well for a heavyweight is he has solid volume, landing 6.5 strikes per minute. He has solid cardio for heavyweight standards. He has a solid ground game. And if he can get on top of Tafa, he can definitely give him trouble here. So in terms of, picking a side, I got to go Porter just because I feel like he has more paths to victory here, but you would not catch me ever betting on the fight like this. I mean, this fight's terrible. Justin Tafa very well could go out there and starch Porter in the first round, but it's just Porter that honestly probably should be favored because he has, like, if this fight leaves the first, it's going to be Porter landing more, but it will be Tafa landing the bigger shots, and then Porter has all the grappling upside. A big red flag for me is the Alain Badeau fight for Parker Porter. Like, that was a fight where he was on his way to losing to Alain Badeau. And Alain Badeau was like showboating for some reason. I mean, Alain Badeau's like 0-4 in the UFC, but he was actually showboating in that 3rd round against Parker Porter because he was on his way to winning. And then while showboating, like, Parker Porter tripped him and took him down, and Parker Porter was able to win the round. But yeah, Parker Porter was on his way to losing the Alain Badeau fight. That's inexcusable. So I feel like you got to pick Parker Porter as a dog here just because I feel like nobody is good enough to be favored in this fight. But like I said, I'm not betting on this fight. Nothing's sticking out. I was kind of looking forward to maybe like a Tafa finish only or like a Porter decision only, but they're all over those. It's like Tafa finish only is like -155, -160. Same thing with Porter decision only. So I'm not laying chalk on any of those, but maybe I'll play this fight on DraftKings. Like, I have some Tafa, just because I think if Tafa wins, it's a first round KO, and it should not shock anybody if Justin Tafa knocked out Parker Porter in the first round. That should not shock anybody. Tafa has one good thing, and that's the power, and Parker Porter's been knocked out a ton. And if Porter wins, maybe he does use that wrestling, which I'd like to see. So I do have, unfortunately, some of this fight on DraftKings, but from a betting perspective, there's no way I'd even think about touching this fight. I mean, if I was forced to bet it, I don't know. Nobody can force me to bet it, so I don't even know. So I'm not touching this fight. We got Uncle Weezy in the chat saying, "Oi, what is up, Uncle Weezy? How you doing?" Fight of the night. I hope you're not talking about Tafa Porter. Worst fight of the night. This fight sucks, and it's on the main card. Is Tafa going to be low owned on DK? I don't have the ownership pulled up, but I think he will be semi low owned. I don't know off the top of my head. I think Parker Porter probably is higher owned. Like, a lot of people are on Porter this week, and I can see why, but I don't know. Normally, it's the women's fight for a bathroom break. This week, it's Tafa, Porker, and yeah, probably, man. This is actually an easy bet. Tafa has only one path to victory, a KO. If it goes the distance, Parker will dominate. I don't know about dominate, but I agree that I think Parker will win if it does go the distance. That's why I was kind of maybe considering like the decision only for Porter, but they're onto it. Porter by decision is like plus 300. Even then, I can't see myself putting $1 on this fight. I think Tuivasa was initially booked for this card, right? This card had some really good fights fall off. I'm not sure if it was Tuivasa or a different heavyweight that was supposed to fight on this card. But yeah, I mean, Tuivasa, that would have been really nice if he was. Parker Porter, 37 years old. Yeah, he's definitely getting up there. I bet $50 on Tafa just as a joke, just to have some action. There you go. Best of luck on that. Yeah, you can't force me to bet a fight. This fight I'd rather die. I don't know about dying, but there's a lot of things I'd rather do than bet on this fight. Good luck to you as well, Cole. Porter by sub for the Subway culture. I'll tell you what, I'm done betting on Porter finish props after that Alain Badeau fight. That Alain Badeau fight was inexcusable. He should have finished Alain Badeau, but he didn't, and he looked awful in that fight. So yeah, big giant pass for me. Tuivasa didn't want to fight on this card, missed too many events with the kids and family. He said, yeah, I would have liked to see him on this card, man, but it is what it is. Instead of watching Tai Tuivasa, fan favorite, the Shui guy, we get to watch Justin Tafa versus Parker Porter, and even better, we have to pay for it. All right. Let us move on to some good fights. 3 good fights to end the night here. We have Jack Della Maddalena going against Randy Brown. We got Jack Della Maddalena around minus 300. Randy Brown a minus around plus 250. Jack, pretty solid favorite here. I do have a bet here, and this line didn't make a ton of sense to me. And this line hasn't moved all that much, but I like the under 2.5 rounds here. More specifically, Jack KO inside the distance, but I did bet the under 2.5 rounds like 2 weeks ago, minus 130. It's actually minus 125 there on 5 dimes. And my reasoning being is Jack Della Maddalena has been over 2.5 rounds only once in his career, and that was against Ange Lusa. Ange Lusa, who is extremely tough, extremely durable, and Jack almost finished him probably 50 times in that fight. Like, I was watching that fight against Ange Lusa and thinking to myself, how the heck is Ange Lusa not going down? On top of that, Ange Lusa almost had Jack out of there with a submission in his own right. So I like the under 2.5 here. I think Jack does KO Randy Brown. But if Randy Brown was to pull off the upset, what I would like to see Randy Brown do, and I know a lot of people are taking a shot on this prop, is getting the fight down to the mat and potentially getting a submission. Like, Randy Brown's a really good grappler. Like, he has a submission win over like Warley Alves, who's a legit black belt. And if Randy Brown's able to get down, he's able to get down Jack Della Maddalena. Like, Jack's been in a ton of bad spots on the mat, like in a lot of fights. Against Ange Lusa, he was in a bad spot on the mat. Against Ramazan Ameev, he was in a very bad spot on the mat. And if Randy Brown can get this fight down to the mat, hey, the sub could be live. But if not, I think Jack pressures him, and Randy Brown leaves a lot of openings, especially as the fight goes on. His hands are low. He relies a lot on that head movement, and you don't want to do that against somebody in Jack Della Maddalena. You know, Brown's been finishing 3 of his 4 losses, and Jack's been finishing all of his losses, both of them, one by knockout, one by sub. Those were a while ago, but still, he's been finished twice nonetheless. So these guys have a combined, 6 losses, 5 of them coming inside the distance. I like the under here. And we'll talk about, best bet tomorrow for the show, but I think for the show tomorrow, I'll probably be giving out like the Jack by KO, which is like a pick, a minus 110. Like Jack inside the distance, because I do think Jack wins this fight the majority of the time. I know Randy Brown's a pretty popular dog this week, and I get it. Randy Brown's fought the much better competition. This is a pretty big step of competition going from Danny Roberts to Randy Brown here, but I'm buying into the hype of Jack Della Maddalena. I think this guy's the goods. I think he's the real deal, and I think he beats Randy Brown in dominant fashion with a knockout. And I think he continues to take another step up in competition after this one. So this is the rightful step up. I like this step up. I think it's a really good fight. And I think it's another winnable fight for Jack Della Maddalena. And I think it's another knockout win for Jack as well. So on DraftKings, I like Jack 9,200. I think he has knockout upside. I love the volume that he brings, landing like 8.5 significant strikes per minute. I think he's going to pressure, land hard shots, and eventually finish Randy Brown in that first or second round. So give me some Jack. Like him quite a bit in this spot, and like him to win by finish. But I am on the under 2.5, minus 130, 1 unit on that. I think Jack KO's Randy Brown's. Yeah, Randy Brown does look confident, right? For a pretty big dog, Randy Brown has a lot of confidence, I noticed. I can't pull the trigger on this one. Chaos couldn't even finish Randy at 2 different fighters. But yeah, Chaos does have a lot of power. Although, what's weird about Chaos is he wasn't finishing like anybody outside the UFC, but once he got into the UFC, he started finishing at everybody. But yeah, that dude does hit hard. But he was close to finishing Randy. He was super close to. He dropped him and hurt him like twice in that fight. Brown, a round 2 sub. You got a lot of people on that sub. That sub was like plus like 1,200 or something, by the way. That Brown by sub. It's plus 1,300 now, actually, on FanDuel. I think if he gets the fight down to the mat, that could be live. Agent say, hey, Ha Brady, I haven't seen anybody pick Brown, but I will take the stab. There you go. I like Jack, but this is a show me spot. And I agree, it's a show me spot. Appreciate the dono, Adrian. Yeah, it's a show me spot, man. It's a big step up, but me personally, I'm buying in to the hype. I think Jack's the real deal. But these are spots that typically I would look towards, like a Randy Brown. I would try to bet against like an unproven prospect at especially at this dog money. But I like Jack a lot, and I'm not picking against this guy, betting against this guy. Um, at least until he fights like somebody who's going to take him down, like a good grappler, right? Who's going to take him down, who's going to potentially, find a potential hole in his game, and that might be the takedown defense, that might be the submission defense. But Randy Brown, I don't know if he's that guy. I don't know if I think he has the tools. It's just Randy Brown does not show that he can go out there and wrestle all that much as he should. Like Randy Brown, I would like to see him go for takedowns, but he got one takedown against Vicente Luque like 3 years ago. He got one takedown against Worley Alves like 4 years ago. He got a takedown against Nico Price like 5 years ago. Once against Mickey Gall 6 years ago. So he's not really taking guys down. But man, Randy Brown's ground game is good. So we'll see. Has anyone brought up the Islam Volk fight as a good decision minus 165? Is that still minus 165? I saw that line was getting smashed. So we'll talk about that soon, but looks like best price out there right now is like minus 1. It's minus 165 on 5 times, I suppose, but on like books that you can get in the US, like minus 186, minus 182, minus 175 best price. I got Pedro fight, Brown fight, and Crew fight, not to go the distance, plus 196. I agree with that. Not something I would do personally, but I think that hits for you. All right, 2 fights left. We have Yair Rodriguez going against Josh Emmett. And yeah, I like this fight quite a bit. I think it's a great fight to have for DraftKings. We have 25 minutes to work with. Both guys throw a lot of volume. Both guys have a lot of power, especially Josh Emmett, who has 11 knockdowns in the featherweight division. Josh Emmett's another guy that has, at one point, he landed like 7 knockdowns in a row in 7 consecutive fights. That got snapped against Calvin Kattar, who never gets knocked down. But yeah, Josh Emmett's power is no joke. So there is some narrative for this fight. There's some narrative. Apparently, Josh Emmett's injured. I'm not sure if there's any truth to that at all, but apparently he has he has a hip injury. I've seen people say that he has a shoulder injury. Is his leg in? Apparently Josh Emmett's coming into this fight injured, which is interesting. Which makes me like the violence ever so more. I like violence here. I did place a half unit shot on the fight doesn't go decision at plus 125. That lines came down a little bit. But yeah, I think these guys are going to stand and bang for 25 minutes. I think these guys are going to stand and bang. Both guys have a ton of power, and I think somebody's going to get caught at some point. Josh Emmett has so much power. It should not shock anybody if he knocked out Yair. And on the flip side, Rodriguez has a lot of power in his own right. So we have seen Emmett knocked out before. So I like violence here. I think somebody's getting knocked out, and I can't touch the Emmett money line just because of the injury news. I don't know if it's true or not. We'll have to find out. But that injury narrative makes me like the violence ever so more. So I think this guy's going to stand and bang. Emmett should wrestle, but he's not going to. And I think somebody gets knocked out here. So give me the violence. But yeah, from DraftKings perspective, I like it quite a bit. I think both guys have a lot of upside, finish upside, volume upside. Josh Emmett, if he chooses to wrestle, he'll have a ton of success. It's just he doesn't do it. And if he's injured, he's definitely not going to wrestle. So yeah, should be a fun fight, but give me the violence route again. I want to see Randy punch his nose to the other side of his face. Goodness. Tough fight to call. Emmett coming off a robbery decision over Kattar. Rodriguez winning by fluke. Injury against Ortega. Tough to see who has momentum. Yeah, Rodriguez's resume as of late. He had that win against Ortega where there's an injury. He had that literally last second knockout against the Korean Zombie. He had that no contest against Stevens, and then he beat Stevens in the second fight. Lost to Edgar, lost to Holloway. I don't know. Yair's last legit win was a while ago. I think Emmett's getting counted out a little bit here. But if he's injured, and that's obviously not good. So we'll have to see, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of people talk about the injury and a lot of different injuries, which is weird. I've seen hip, I've seen shoulder. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to that though. I air by weird elbow KO. He's done it before. If there is an injury prop, if there is an injury prop, or does it go down as a TKO loss? If it's an injury, it'll go down as a TKO loss. Doubt Yair is getting KO'd. Could see him head kick Emmett though. Why can't Yair get KO'd? Josh Emmett has the best power in the division. I mean, now that Jeremy Stevens is gone, Emmett's the hardest hitter in the division. Why can't he KO Yair? It could happen. Should not shock anybody if Emmett knocks this guy out. Like Emmett has a ton of power. I think Josh Shetty is dealing with injuries after the Jeremy fight, and that's why he only fights once a year. Believe that's where the narrative came from. Makes sense. And that's kind of what it sounds like, man. Kind of what it sounds like. But we have the main event. We have Islam Makhachev going against Alexander Volkanovski. We have Islam, pretty big favorite. Was he minus 400 around there? And then we have Volkanovski, like plus 310, plus 325. Yeah, I don't have a bet on the main event. I was planning on potentially smashing this fight doesn't go decision. And I kind of waited too much, I suppose. Like I thought this line would come down. Like a lot of people are under the impression it's going to go to decision. A lot of people on the over 1.5, over 2.5. And I thought with everybody parlaying up the over 1.5, smashing the over 2.5, 3.5, that this would drive down the fight doesn't go decision line, and maybe I can get it at like minus 120, minus 130, but that's not the case. It went the completely other way. It's like minus 200 now for fight doesn't go, minus 182, minus 175. So I kind of missed the boat there. I could have got it like minus 145 earlier in the week. I got greedy, I suppose. But even then, like I don't want to count out Volk too much here. I think, as the week's gone on, earlier in the week, I was extremely confident in Islam, like massively confident in him. But as the week has went on, I gave Volkanovski a little bit more credence, but still, I'm still pretty confident in Makhachev here. I think it's obviously a step up in weight class for Volk. He's going to be undersized. Islam's going to be huge come fight time. You got to think. And I just struggle to see a world where Volkanovski's stuffing takedowns here. Like Volkanovski's getting taken down by featherweights, right? And he's doing a great job of popping back up. But are you going to pop back up, against a guy like Islam Makhachev? I don't think so. So I don't know. I think Islam wins, and it comes down to, for me, like, does he finish Volkanovski? And I do lean towards him finishing him, but you're not getting a great price on it. It's like Islam inside the distance is like minus 115, minus 145. I don't quite love that. I saw FanDuel's doing a boost. FanDuel's doing the Islam inside the distance at plus 120, boosting that. That's kind of tempting. But yeah, I don't have any action on this fight. I do have a ton of action on DraftKings, though. I think that Islam has the highest ceiling on the slate. Like Islam has a ton of takedown upside, and like I said, Volk has a great get-up game, so that only is going to lead to more takedowns. And if Volk is to pull off the upset, it doesn't matter what he's scoring. He's probably going to be optimal at 6,700. So love this fight for DraftKings. Islam is my highest exposed fighter on the slate, but I do have a solid amount of Volkanovski as well. I have a ton of this main event from a DraftKings perspective, but from a betting perspective, just nothing sticking out. So staying away from this fight as of now, and I don't really think I'll be adding on. And smashing the fight doesn't go. Oh no, I kind of missed the boat. Mushroom saying, "What's up, Brady? Sorry I'm late. We'll catch the replay. Let's go. What's up, Mushroom? How you doing?" Mushroom saying Makhachev inside the distance, also sprinkling the each round 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I may hop on the inside the distance, especially on FanDuel where it's boosted to plus 120. That's kind of intriguing. I feel the same as you, Brady. We might really get surprised by Volk in this. Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's hard to completely count the guy out, but is Makhachev to win in round 1 is the juiciest bet on this entire card? That would kind of surprise me a tad. You think he runs through Volk? I don't know. Volk could be the ultimate parlay buster. He could. I got Makhachev finish at plus 168 or 1.68 this Monday, and now it's 1.83. Islam making a lot of KO chasing comments. Kind of freaks me out if he chooses. Yeah, he's not knocking out Alexander Volkanovski, I don't think. Unless it's like a ground and pound, but he's not knocking him out on the feet. Alexander Volkanovski's not Charles Oliveira. I bet 1,500, and if it pops, I'm missing out on a 255 at lower odds. You bet 1,500 on the round 1. Uncle Weezy saying, good luck on your bets, everyone. Let's stack them high. Smash a like on your way out. Appreciate Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy will be on the Best Bet show tomorrow with me, Lou Betcha, and Billy Briz as well. Could not wait for that show. That's going to be at 5 o'clock Eastern. The only thing that makes this go past the round one is if he has any ground defense. I think Volk has pretty good ground defense. Betway has the same boost, plus 125. Yeah, I don't hate that. Volk by sub. What? You think Volk's going to sub Makhachev in the round one? I don't know. Early lean, Blanchfield, Santos. Santos. Pretty strong lean there, to be honest, after taping it. Brady, let's win this freaking money. Let's go. Islam's not taking this easy. His belt is on the line. He will finish him. Yeah, I think it'll be a good fight, but I think it does get the finish as well. But yeah, no bet for me on this one. I know it sucks not having a bet on the main event, but not much is really sticking out. So I'll quickly go over my bets, and then I got to get out of here. We have 2 units on Loma Luke Bumi. We'll see if me laying chalk on WMMA is going to pay off here. I've got that at minus 250, though. That line has moved. I still think she's a solid parlay piece. Like, if Elise Reed won this fight, I can't say I'd be extremely surprised because it's women's MMA, but I do like Loma quite a bit in this matchup. I have 1 unit on the under 2.5 rounds, Malarkey Prado, minus 130. 1 unit on the fight doesn't go, Malarkey Prado, minus 163. 1 unit on the Randy Brown, Jack Della Maddalena, under 2.5, minus 130. Jimmy Crute, Alonzo Menefield, under 1.5, 1 unit, minus 110, along with the fight won't start round 3 for Menefield Crute, 1.5 units, minus 190. I have the under 1.5 rounds, Pedro Bukowskis, plus 117, half a unit. Half a unit on the Tuhugov Brenner, under 2.5, plus 130. I like that even better now since Subi looked terrible on the scales. I missed weight. I like the Rodriguez Emmett fight doesn't go to decision, half a unit, plus 125. And then finally, Klitz and Rodriguez inside the distance, half a unit, plus 140. Those are my bets. 10 bets, 4 of them being plus money, laying chalk on the other 6, but I do like a lot of the spots this week. Not my favorite betting card in the world, but it's a pretty solid card. It's a much better card than next week. Next week is going to suck. Already about done with next week, and it's the worst card I've ever seen. Like Josh Parisian's on the main card. That tells you everything you need to know. But yeah, do appreciate everybody hanging out. People sleeping on Islam, and not really. He's a massive favorite. He's like minus 400. It is going past round 1, guys. The round 1 win was against Ali, was an anomalous. Islam ultimately wins this if he doesn't get KO'd. Yeah, that Oliveira win was in round 2, actually. All right. So I'm going to head out. Best of luck, guys. UFC 284. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. I think we're like 50 away from 19,000 subs, so we'd love to hit that by the time these fights start. So if you do enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe. If you're new, subscribe. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Betting breakdown video will be out 6:30 in the morning tomorrow. And then also best bet will be at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. And good luck on your bets and enjoy the card. Should be a very fun one for UFC 284. See you guys later.